Hello. Welcome again. This is welcome to the House Mango Podcast, episode 4, where today we're going to be talking about college and how it's kind of affected all of us here today. My name is Slim or Chad. I'm here with Ron and also our special guest,
Ginger.
We have Ginger here. You'll kind of know him. I play Destiny with him a lot, pretty frequently. He's also kind of in our party games every now and then, and he's active in the Discord. Want to also throw out that the three of us have been through a higher level of education, and we know kind of what that experience is like. So we'll be speaking basically from our own personal opinions, with it being college and kind of a broader and maybe nowadays some might consider a controversial subject. What we say is purely based on our experiences and our own opinions, and be sure to take that as such. Nothing we say is, don't take it as gospel. We're not speaking straight from the Bible or something. It's just strictly our opinions. So without further ado, do you want to take the first question?
Yeah, sure.
Mango, somebody?
All right, I'll take it. So, first question, did you go to college, and what was your major, if you want to disclose where and what? So I guess I'll start,
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I did go to college. Yes, I did. I completed an undergraduate, and then I went to a master's program. I have my master's in healthcare administration. I work in a healthcare facility. I lead the facility alongside our leadership team. Yeah, I mean, I think that's it.
Yeah,
right?
it's pretty straightforward question and answer. I have completed an undergrad program. I have a bachelor's degree in computer engineering. Currently not using it, but I did go to the University of Toledo in Ohio. And I only say that because the last podcast I said I was a mascot, and that's where I was. So, voila.
I went to undergrad in, I got a bachelor's in animal science at the University of Findlay in Ohio, which is kind of a small private liberal arts school. And then proceeded to go to get my doctorate in veterinary medicine at Auburn University.
Nice.
Bam.
Cool.
Okay. Working plus school, how do you accommodate the change of having no income / still having to make an income while taking classes? Personally, I had, before I was a mascot, well, I'll say my freshman year of college, I didn't work at all, just because I was trying to accommodate to the new lifestyle, go to class, focus on school, all that kind of stuff. After that, I was like, okay, now I think I'm ready for some outside money to come in. I have college under my belt. I wound up getting a job as a shuttle bus driver around campus. So basically, I got my Class B CDL, so I can drive a school bus, and essentially I drove basically like an RTA bus, like a public transportation bus, in circles around campus. And basically, students would get on, students would get off, wherever the classes were at, wherever they needed to go, whether it be like the student union or engineering buildings or whatever. And that's what I did. Conveniently, that busing work schedule was strictly tailored to like students and their class schedules. So each shift was only 2 hours, but you could work 2 to 3 shifts a day, just like spread out. So I could have, I could work, it's more specific timing, but I could work from 7:30 to 9:30 in the morning, go to class from 10 to 12, have another shift from 1 to 3, go back to class, and then close out the night with another shift. It was very convenient. It was very flexible with our schedule, with our actual class schedules. That's kind of was really nice to have. Later in school, that's when I got the mascot job, and that was more of a set schedule, essentially, kind of just because there's big events that you have to go to, and there's not. Obviously, there's other people that do it, so you're not always stuck into it, but that's kind of more outside. Um, as far as accommodating to the change of having no income, still having income, blah blah blah, that was, I would say, it was fairly easy. Especially being in school, I don't think I spent a lot outside of daily life. I guess most of the time, if I needed food, I went to the like student union or the
Student
dining
center.
halls and stuff. They had like a little marketplace too. I'd frequently go there and use like my meal plan and get a meal. Um, I think I adapted well to working and school. It wasn't like working with some crazy 8-hour shifts plus schooling on top of that. I mean, it was 2 to 6 hours a day. Usually, it was only 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, along with my class schedule. Usually, I was off on Friday, so I still had plenty of time to do like schoolwork and stuff. So it was pretty easy for me to accommodate that.
Mm-hmm. Ginger,
Did you work while in school, Mango?
I did. Yeah, I did. I had 2 jobs. I didn't work freshman year. I worked. The first job I worked was we at the local performing arts center for the university. I worked as an usher, so like it was actually kind of cool. I got to see some really really cool like musicians and like people that are super intense in the field. Like I got to meet some people who've like won Oscars or whatever it is, like for certain albums or whatever the Oscar version of music is. I forget what it's
Grammy?
called. Grammy, that one. I got to meet like Grammy award winning artists, and it was like super intense. But
Yeah.
so I did that one. I think I did that one for like a whole year. And then my junior and senior year, I worked as a desk assistant in residence life. So like similar to like the bus driving one, it was like 2 hours shifts. And if you wanted to work doubles or you wanted to work more, you could. But it was convenient because I had the chance to work on like papers or schoolwork or things like that. There'd be
Yeah.
occasional times where it'd be like I'd hear people come in like a group of 10 and they got their backpacks and all you hear is clinking and it's like, well,
Yeah.
whatever, I'm gonna let it pass. I'm not gonna, come on, man. Like as long as you don't have it out in front of me, I'm not gonna sit there and be
It's
like,
just my books.
yeah.
Right.
Because it's funny because like I remember one person like dropped their book bag and all you hear is like glass and they all looked at me and I was like, just go.
Yeah.
Just go. But yeah, so I did that for 2 years and then that was all the jobs I really had on campus. I remember, so I don't know what minimum wage was for you guys in your state or where you were, but ours was like it was like $7.25. That was my first. That was it. I don't know if that was like
around there. Yeah.
It was like the federal minimum, right?
Yeah.
Right. What about you, Ginger? Do you have any?
I had a lot of jobs in undergrad. Similar to you guys, I did not work freshman year. Once I started my sophomore year, my second year, whatever you want to call it, that's when I joined a fraternity and I was like doing more like outside of like activities, like going out and hanging out with people, doing more extracurriculars. Um, my first job I got like as a student tutor at the like student center, um, and that was like I didn't put a lot of effort into that. It was like you sign up for the shift and the subject, and I felt like I didn't do that a lot, and immediately kind of just like threw that away.
Mhm.
Then I started working more like off-campus jobs. I worked at Five Guys for like a couple, like almost like a 8-month period. I worked at American Eagle for 30 days. I worked at McDonald's for 2 months before they fired me. I worked and then my final job in undergrad was a pizza place, and I stayed there for almost 2 years.
Mhm.
And I became a shift manager there, and that was the big raise. I made $8-9 an hour working there, so I was like feeling good. But that job allowed me to during the summer I could transfer back home to the same pizza chain, so I could work during the summer too. So that was really nice. Um, During the other summers, once I was later in the like junior senior year, I was also during the summers working at a veterinary hospital, shadowing and doing I would do like the 8 to 5 there,
Mhm.
and then I would do like 6 to 12 midnight at the pizza place to close, and then go back to the veterinary hospital the next day. So that one summer I was doing both. I was working like 16-hour days, and it was tough, but the money
Mhm.
was good.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I had a lot of jobs in undergrad, just something to fill the time, and I felt like I wasn't in talking about like accommodating to change. I felt like I didn't notice it too much because there was the dining hall like in the early years
Mhm.
with the meal plans and all of that, and the refund from your loans. I felt like it lasted me a good while because I was still in student housing. I wasn't paying rent.
Mhm.
And then in my junior and senior year, even though I was off campus, I had a good friend whose mother was board on the board of trustees for the university and bought a house that housed 8 people, and she bought it for her daughter who was there and for her friends to live there, and we paid $200 in rent, like flat, for utilities. Everything was just $200 a month, and so I made out really good with that deal. So
Mhm.
I didn't really need a lot of income to afford rent and things like that. And veterinary school, I didn't work because, well, I did for a couple months in my third year, but in the initial 2 years, I mean, I was going classes from 8 to 5, like straight classes the entire time, and then having to study and having up to 3 or 4 tests a week in each week. And then my third year, I started having some more money issues and wanted to make some money because I was just staying there doing nothing for an entire summer. I was like, at least I can be doing something. So I started working at Buffalo Wild Wings as a server. Um, and in a college town with football town like Auburn, there was some good tips left there. So I was like, oh, I'll just work for the summer and quit back when school starts. And then I was like, but this money's really good and I'm gonna try and make it work. And football season's coming up. So I lasted all the way till Thanksgiving of like that semester.
Mhm.
Um, and there's Saturdays that I walked out of there with like $150 in tips
Dang.
from like a football Saturday. So I made that last as long as I could.
Mhm.
But that's really the only time I was working during school.
You actually jogged my memory because I was thinking strictly like on campus jobs, but then I remembered I worked in my local hospital as a unit secretary, like halfway through junior year, and I kept that up until uh, after I finished my master's, and then I got like a big boy job. So he actually jogged my memory on that one. I completely forgot. So 3, not
Yeah.
2. My bad.
Yeah, I bounced around all over the place there. Like that second and third year of undergrad, I had like 6 jobs that I was
Yeah.
bouncing between trying to find something stable.
Mm-hmm. And I remember too, um, money at that time felt like $1,000,000 because like we all share the same situation where we had meal plans, we weren't paying rent or anything like that. So what else would you use that money for other than either one, save it, or two, spend it on something that like you want, you know?
Literally just like recreational activities.
Yeah, like there was no responsibility, no bills to necessarily pay off. Well, okay, necessarily. But, like there's no like I'm not paying like I wasn't paying insurance back then. Now I
Yeah.
am, like that kind of stuff. So, man, it was sweet back then. Well, relatively
Simpler
speaking.
time.
Yeah, simpler times as opposed to now. Next question. Yay, nay.
How well did you adjust to the college lifestyle? Boy, let me tell you,
But
I
also,
did not.
I was gonna say, I think this is where me and him have very different answers.
I did not.
but then I would take it a step further and I would say, what is your definition of a college lifestyle? Is it like
I would classify college lifestyle as you're plucked out of your hometown where you know a lot of the people that you went to school with, thrown into this community of 20,000 people or wherever you went to school. My school is probably around 16 to 20,000. Thrown into this new community of all these thousands of people that you have no idea, and you just have to make it work and try to enjoy yourself.
I'm like,
I did not do that.
I'm like, Ginger, what's your definition?
I mean, I would say it's similar. I mean, it's that essence of like that first step where, I mean, for most people, I mean, some people go to like your college lifestyle was, either online classes or community colleges where you were.
Mhm.
But for me, that was that first step outside of, my parents' like realm. Like I was the first step and chance to be like self-sufficient and independent and, start making those choices for myself and seeing how I'm going to make it through the rest of my life.
Mhm.
And I took that and ran. I loved it. I was like, wait, mom and dad who?
I'm about to say, mom and dad didn't love it very much. They were on you all the time.
I hardly ever called them. I was just like living my life to the fullest. And I was like, I love this. I'm great. I'm doing great. And they're like, how are you? Do you call it? You never call? I was
Yep.
like, I'm doing great.
I got that at home. Yep. It was always like, oh, when you leave for school, you better call us. I was like, yeah, sure, yeah. I was like, he never calls us. I was like, sure. And then I didn't call him. So.
No, I think I'm
Yeah,
pretty
what's your
sure
definition?
it's pretty much similar to the both of you. I feel like I really harp when I think about college lifestyle, like the independence and the good and the bad of that independence.
Yeah.
Is like, like you have all this freedom, you can do whatever you want in theory, but then at the same time it's like you got consequences now. Like
Right.
if you don't perform, if you don't do well, if you don't, like you're impacting your future in a way that may or may not have super big repercussions.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm like the midway between the both of you, where it was part of it was because like I got Asian parents.
Yeah.
So like I remember like freshman year, I'd be home every weekend because they would come and pick me up and we go back home every weekend. And I'd be like,
You're one of those kids.
I was one of those. And then like
I saw kids on campus packing up their cars to go home every single weekend. I was like, bro, it's not.
And then like
you don't got to.
And then I remember at that time it would be like, hey, can I not go home this weekend? Like as,
Yeah.
like as if I'm asking. But then like towards like I think like sophomore, junior, I stopped going home as often because the only reason I think really I truly went home was because I had that hospital job.
Mm-hmm.
And or like maybe like big events that happened at home, or like it's like someone's birthday or Thanksgiving or something like that. But yeah, no, I feel like I did adjust well, because part of it I feel like the work ethic was there. It was just more so, how do I navigate talking to people that I've never met in my life before? How do I navigate like what's the right thing to do within my realm of ideas and what what's not, right? Because again, it's like almost a free for all when you walk in freshman year. So
Yeah.
And I think what worked to my advantage is that I had a very strong extrovert pluck me out and put me in the situation like with friends.
mhm.
And so like it was just like that dorm hall, like everyone's just walking up and down the halls. And I don't even remember like what I was doing, but then like who eventually became like my roommate for the next 3 years, like just like popped his head in and he's like, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm doing whatever. I was like making my bed or
Mhm.
setting up my room. And he's like, you want to come up to the third floor, which was the girls' floor? And he was like, you want to come up there? I got some friends up there. We're just like hanging out, getting ready to go to dinner. And I was like, why not? The
Mhm.
opportunity calls and I'll go. And then that like core group became like my core group of friends for the next 3 years, 4 years.
Mhm. So let me ask both of you: did you guys go to college with friends from your hometown, or you came in fresh without any idea?
Fresh.
Fresh.
I had kids. I had sentences. I had people from my school go to the same college as me.
Okay.
Only one of them I probably would have considered a real friend. We played soccer together for all of high school.
Okay.
But I would know like no best friends, I would say.
Right.
No.
I feel like now that I hear Ginger say it, that's pretty much my experience throughout freshman year. was that like my roommate was a super social person because he had this idea of like his dad's college experience and his grandfather's college experience, and he was like, I'm gonna make that same college experience. Like he had like a what is it like one of his like luggage cases was like this old like chest thing, and it had like fraternity stickers all over it, and it was like passed down from like his like I guess his lineage or whatever. So it's just like it was like that. So similarly enough, like when we all moved in, we all hung out. So our dormitory had like common rooms or common areas. I'm sure it was the same for you guys.
Right. Yeah.
But like he was like, let's just sit out here and let's just talk to people. And I was like, I don't really want to do that, but I guess I will. So we did that. And then we met like these like other guys in our like pod area. And like, so then we became friends with them, and we played like Monopoly every night, or like some kind of board game every night, because it was just fun. And then our pod had the elevator to go up and down. So then we'd meet other people, and then all of a sudden, like the entire pod is just like rife with so many freshman college students, and we're all just talking, meeting up, and whatever. Some people getting like the next day, they're like, "Yo, like I slept with that person." I was like, "Okay, like cool, man, that's good for you." Like,
Freshman, yeah.
freshman.
Listen, you still owe me rent.
Yeah.
You passed go.
Yeah. So that's pretty similar, I would say. Was yours similar, Slim? Oh,
Kind of. Freshman year, I definitely still had that like super extrovert person that like would just say hi to whoever or do anything that you would tell him to. Even he definitely, I think he definitely tried to pull me out and take in places, which I would say probably a good 60% of the time I went along and was like, yeah, sure, why not? I'll go get food with you or whatever. But I am just not that kind of person. I'm very introverted. I like to stay home. I like to just be, I won't say be alone, but just be like to myself. And I was playing, I think it was Destiny 1 at the time, probably. Should have been Destiny 1, maybe. I was still playing a lot of video games like I do now. So I was very much like, I think after so long, he kind of just like stopped asking me to go, because I just would stay in my room with my door shut playing video games all the time. And so I was just not that person. And I'm also like, if I want to say I'm not as much like this now, but or maybe I am, I don't know. If I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to force myself to do it to please other people. So if you're going to ask me to, hey, you want to go hang out with these 12 other people that I don't know and go get dinner? I'll be like, I don't know them. So not really. No, I don't want to. And so then I just won't meet anybody. And then I'm just kind of stuck by myself, which again, kind of my own doing. I'm doing it to myself, but at the same time, it's like I could go with those 12 people I don't know and not enjoy myself and literally have zero social battery, or I can stay home in the comfort of my home and be alone and enjoy my time playing video games with the people I enjoy online. Which that's a lot of the gripe that I even get today, especially from my parents, is, oh, you need to go out and meet some people and go get a social life. I'm like, no. I play video games. I enjoy the people I play video games with online. They just all aren't in my state, so I can't hang out with them. I hang out with them digitally. I'm like, oh, it's not the same. You got to go out and live free. You know, you're in your early 20s. You got to go live life to the fullest. I'm like, I don't have money to do that. I'm here enjoying my time with my friends online.
Yeah, I'm still meeting new people. They're just virtual.
I feel like the definition has changed for people our age, as opposed to like them. They were like, oh, like we went everywhere, blah blah blah. Like, you know,
right?
It's different. There's more avenues now to hang out with people, and that's not a bad thing.
Can't just go down to the milkshake diner for $5.95.
Yep.
You know.
But I think freshman year, I think I was definitely like the most social out of my time at school. As it went on, I definitely got more introverted, more recluse. Is that the word? Like inward into myself.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we kind of maybe all went through that, where it's like, I feel like freshman year you have like all these people that you know, and then by basically junior year you pass by them, you say hi, you move on. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Or at least
And
for,
like my good.
no, sorry, but at least for me, like it was like I became closer to the people that I knew in the nursing program than I did outside anywhere, because like nursing, you're with each other all the time.
Right.
So it's like that became like the core group of friends, not so much like I lost touch out of the people because they like that I met freshman year, because like they kind of all went separate ways. Like it was like, oh, like because my roommate was a music major, I was a nursing major. One person was a law major, another person was a business major. So then like everyone kind of just went and split, and it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not a big
In
deal.
those early years, you're all doing the same gen ed, so you're all in one
Exactly.
big mixing bowl. And then once you start getting more specialized in your majors, you just all split.
You're like, oh, I gotta try to keep my friends now.
Yeah. So then it just turned into like, oh,
And then
hey.
no one does.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you want to get dinner at dining hall? Yeah. Doesn't show up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's whatever.
Nah, man, I got a chemistry lab then.
Yeah, no, for real.
Right.
Because,
yeah, I got lab that night. Sorry.
Because what would happen is, like, at least for nursing classes, is we had clinical in the morning and nursing classes at night. So it's like, hey, man, you want to hang out? I can't. Hey, you want to go to the gym? I can't.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And like my first 2 years of school, I was in the dorm. Second 2 years, I was in an apartment just off campus. First 2 years, I was one of 6 people in a dorm room.
You had 6?
Yeah, there were 2 double rooms and 2 single rooms.
Dang.
I had one of the single rooms both years.
Nice.
So I was to myself. I don't want to live with anybody. I want to be alone. But like, of those 10 other people that I lived with in that time, I don't think I really like truly connected, or really, I don't want to say I didn't like, because there were some that I would say are friends, but I didn't really connect with any of them.
Like, felt like
one of them,
like a lasting relationship with.
Yeah, one of them was an upperclassman, so that's already like out the window.
Yeah.
2 of them, the whole dorm smelled of weed because they were smoking all the time.
Nice.
The one he was like the one that I just mentioned about the extrovert. He was like an extrovert, like over the top, like 211, and I was like, that's way too much. No, I can't handle all this. And it's just, there was no true lasting connection in any of them. So then once I got to junior year and didn't live in a dorm, then I was just kind of like,
right.
I have the people I do labs with in class that I'm forced to work with, and that's pretty much it.
Right.
And I did meet a few people my first 2 years, a core 3 or 4 that I hung out with, I'd say pretty regularly. But at that point, it was kind of like they were more so like work friends rather than like actually good friends. They were friends. I enjoyed being with them. I enjoyed hanging out with them. It was really fun. But it's like they were only friends because I was at school, and that was more or less all I had to work with. If that, I don't want to make that sound harsher than it is, but that's a lack of better words. Like, yeah, they were like work friends is what I would consider it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Next question.
Yeah, take it away.
Do you want to say it?
It's all you.
Well, if still in school, I don't think any of us are, right?
Nope.
You would be the one.
I don't really count that.
Okay.
So we'll go to the second half. If you graduated, are you using what you learned in school in your current profession? And I would say absolutely, because I went to veterinary school and now I'm a veterinarian. So yeah, I'm definitely using everything I've learned. Going back a little bit, like looking at like gen ed courses, because I think that's probably like where this topic would maybe fit best. I would say that for the most part, they were useless.
I was about to say, is there anything you're not using?
I would say that I had my basic English course, and we did like a couple papers, and it was kind of split like halfway between like a research topic or like literature review, which does help like in with what I do, but there's also like creative writing, and I felt like that was where I really struggled because I'm more, being like science and math, like that oriented of my brain. That kind of creative side I struggle with more, so I really didn't care for that at all. um, I did take an argument and debate course, and I do think that has helped. um, and in that aspect of like conversation and explaining things to people, making them see from a different perspective. um, and particularly like with me, with like my clients, if they start to get argumentative about something or not understanding, or like, well, why do you have to do this test, like why do you have to do all these things to give me my answer, why can't you just tell me what's wrong? And kind of learning that interaction with people who are coming from a different side and being able to have that conversation professionally, I think is something that I have continued to use.
Right, right. I feel like I would piggyback on your topic by saying that, yeah, like gen ed courses didn't really do anything.
Yeah,
Like
it's time fillers.
yeah, it's like it's the scam filler of like, let's have you do 4 years of full things, but like, half these classes don't really mean anything to you.
Yeah, you really only need 2.5.
Really, yeah. But for instance, like I had similar classes where it was like research writing, which was nursing related, which I actually did enjoy because I do like research. I like writing papers like that. I um like I just like research in general. And then there's like the creative writing class where it's just like, let's talk about an apple today. And I'm like, like, okay. Like I remember there was a class that I took gen ed wise, and it was the one that was only available within my schedule, but it was about like a professor basically talking about why communism is great. And I was like, okay.
Sure thing, bud.
I'm like, yeah, right, okay. And he was like, it was interesting to know like the political philosophy of different sides of the coin, but I was like, how does this relate to my future in any way going forward? But again, it comes back to just look, if I really took the classes I really needed to take, I'd be done in 2.5 years. That's it. And it's just that to me, is, I mean, again, to answer the question, yeah, I do use it. I use the stuff I would use in undergrad, and I use the stuff in like graduate, because graduate, I'm sure, Ginger, everything's more focused when you're in post grad.
Oh yeah.
But just like the gen ed stuff is just like, well, okay, like that's great. Like public speaking, which I did enjoy, by the way. That was actually pretty fun because the professor was cool. But yeah, it's I don't really use it outside of just fun topics such as this.
Do I use what I learned in school? Let me think real hard. Actually, I'd say I use a solid 25%. My degree was in computer engineering. Gen eds are kind of worthless in that aspect, getting that degree, because you have no gen ed, I don't think, even like correlates to computer stuff. I mean, I the one thing I think of is human geography, basically about the movement of people over time and why people live where they do and why they've moved around and that sort of thing, based on the geography of the terrain and war or whatever. That has nothing to do with computers. Are you kidding me? That has nothing to do with computer programming or client server side stuff or computer networking or information technology, working in IT, operating systems. That has nothing to do with that. So graduated, got my degree, tried for 7-ish months to try to find something, some kind of job to do in software engineering. Yeah, software engineering related, or I was kind of more focused on the hardware side of it. That was kind of more of what I was interested in. I'm kind of trying to not to go into the next question. Um, I was kind of more software or hardware oriented. I was kind of more focused on that. So I was kind of looking more towards that side of things, but it was hard to find. You can only do a million different things with a computer engineering degree. So it's kind of hard to find exactly what I even wanted to do in the first place, let alone find a job that kind of tailored to what I was looking for that wasn't just computer programmer. Because I absolutely hated computer software. I hated writing code, which is what most of my classes were involved in, was writing code. And I'm not a code writer. I know what the problem is. I can read code if you give it to me. I cannot write it. That's not for me. But in the course of taking that curriculum, there's also electrical engineering classes that I had to take as well, which were more hardware related. And in my current job, I build printing presses. A lot of that, or some of it, um, I look at a wiring diagram and put wires together and wire them up and put them where they need to go. And kind of also a lot of it is troubleshooting related. And I think my quote unquote computer engineering background, um, I guess that has kind of helped me know what and how to troubleshoot. Obviously, the first thing you want to do is turn it off and turn it back on again. That's the answer to everything. But past that point, kind of going in the wiring diagram and figuring out, okay, this wire goes here, this wire goes here. Let's measure the voltage across these 2 points. I'm getting a voltage. Why is that not working? Chase it down. That kind of background, I think I can accredit to more honing that in to school. But as far as like actually using what I learned, it's very, very minimal. But I think that's also just because of probably the job market today. And I don't have a job that uses a lot of that because I couldn't find one. Everyone wanted multiple years of experience and not somebody fresh out of school willing to learn anything. So they wanted them to already know everything.
Okay, I have actually a follow-up question about that because that is hitting the head on what I kind of want to talk about, partly. And it's not going into the next question, thankfully. But I guess bonus question is, all of this 4-year stuff, or like for me it was 6 years. For Ginger,
Yeah.
I'm assuming 7+ years,
8.
8 years. All of that to go look for a job, and then be like, oh, we don't want you because you don't have any experience. You're just fresh out of school. We want someone with like 15 years of experience. That is BS.
Yeah.
Because rather, what is your opinion about it? You already know mine because obviously I said BS, but it's just, look, at some point you got to take a chance on somebody
Going in.
because there's no way that anyone's going to learn if you don't give them the opportunity to grow.
Yeah. I think with my job in particular, we're kind of or where I work now, we are in that same boat where and I even had a conversation with somebody recently, one of my friends' dads, where we're kind of at this lull of everyone is looking for work, everyone is hiring. Do you look for somebody with experience, but it's very hard to find because those people are lacking? The amount of those people are lacking. Or do you take a chance and hire the guy fresh out of school, but he has drive, he has heart, he has a good attitude, and he's willing to learn? I think you should go the willing to learn route. Take the people you do have.
Lazy company.
Take the people you do have. Train the fresh people out of school that are willing to learn and carry on that knowledge, and train them up, and then you have a person that you're willing to keep.
The problem with that is like
take the risk and hire, or take the risk and turn down everyone because they have no experience, but then you're still looking for people after 3, 4, 5 years.
the problem with that is big corporations, they're like, this is my business, and it costs exponentially more, from our graphs and data to hire the risk person, the fresh person, and train them and put all that effort into them for the gamble of, are they going to stay on? Are they not going to move to another position with better pay once they are experienced,
Yeah.
versus trying to find that experienced person and then they don't have to do any training. It's the easy hire. And from them as a business, they're like, well, yeah, we'll just look for that guy. We can muddle through where we are right now. We'll just keep looking for that experienced guy and go the safe route.
I at least from my point of view, I can give some context to that, because there was a position that we did have where we hired someone with drive and with, that they were relatively young and everything, and they left within like 6 months, because then they lost that drive, or they then started taking advantage of whatever, and they were like, well, and they went back to whatever job they came from, right? And then the same position that we're hiring, we hired someone with a lot of experience, and they seem, at least right now, to be in it for the long haul. But at the same time, I feel like the context with us in the picture, where it's like, I mean, I know the two of you through gaming, and it's like none of us really slack off, right? And we will apply ourselves to whatever we apply ourselves to. But to get someone to take a risk on us in that regard is hard, because it's like, again, Ginger, you got a point. Companies are doing risk analysis and are going, well, hey, why would we even entertain this one when they don't even have any experience, or they don't really have much to say on paper, where, we can get someone with 5 or maybe 10 years of experience and trust that a little bit more. It's a fine line, because I think if you do have someone with drive, it takes more follow-up from the leader of that person to make sure they invest in that person. But more often than not, I find that people who do have the drive, they don't get followed up on, because then, oh, you're in the position, go learn and go do these tasks, go do your daily duties, have fun, goodbye.
Yeah.
Which is an issue too.
In my experience, though, I have not run into that issue of like the entry level with the high expectations, because the field is so short staffed that it's, and even, I mean, I'm in a specific position because I'm working on specializing, so I'm going through a bunch of matching programs and internships, trying to get to a residency so I can become specialized. So those positions, they're like put out there like, we want an intern. And I go and I say, I will be your intern. And then the algorithm matches me somewhere and I go there and I am their intern. So that's, I'm not having that experience where I'm like, I can't find anywhere to go. But my friends, who didn't go into specialty and just graduated and started working, I haven't, I keep in touch with most of them from vet school that I was close with, and none of them have ever talked about, I can't find a job, or I struggle to find a job. I'm not having issues, finding a place where I'm going to be happy. In the like 3 years that I've been practicing in these clinics I've been at, and people, they don't always continue down this road. They may do 1 year and decide that it's not for them, or they're looking for somewhere else, or even technicians that I work with and they're unhappy and trying to find somewhere else. It's not about, for what in my experience, it's not been about finding an opening. It's about finding a place that has the culture that they're looking for, that is better than where they are. And that's been my experience with what people are looking for. It's not about, oh, I can't find an opening, no one's hiring. It's who's hiring that I want to work for.
Right. No, I mean, I again, from personal experience, when I left the job I had after graduating from graduate school to the job I am now, I went on a couple interviews. Like, there was a good amount of interviews, but when I met them, it was really cold. It was really not like I would ask specific questions regarding the environment and the sort of the environment of the department. What is like, again, not work-life balance, but you know what I'm getting at, where it's like, hey, like, is it just droning on doing work forever, or is it, like what's the balance here, right? And like the job I landed was ones I told them to, because they asked, and I was like, they were like, why did you pick to work here? And I was like, because I believed you guys. I believed you guys when you said that, like, you care for the patients that we serve, and you care for the team members that we serve alongside with. And it's like, I see that every day. I still do to this day. It's more difficult now because of stuff that's happening internally and externally, but it's just, they were like the first ones I actually believed. And I feel like especially us now, we're more cognizant of that, I would argue, than before.
Yeah.
Being through what I have been through in these internships, I have seen the good and the bad, and it's helped me get to a point where I can feel a little bit more confident about when I do get to that point where I'm looking for my steady job, that I can better assess that clinic and that environment
Mm-hmm.
to know what the red flags are.
Right, right. Slim, I feel like you got words to say.
Not particularly.
Oh, okay.
Well,
He's waiting for the big one.
I'll say work culture is definitely for our generation, and well, for our generation, definitely, I would say work culture is like top priority, number one on the list. I think when looking for a job,
Mm-hmm.
maybe equal to or above pay wage.
Yeah,
Yeah, people want to be paid for what they deserve.
agreed.
Right, and also personally, from my experience, I work for my dad, so he's been trying to find people to join the assembly team in the machine shop at our work, at our job. He's had multiple interviews where he's given them offers of however much they want to offer to pay people, and it's always been, well, he's had multiple interviews. Either one, they just don't show up to the interview and don't say anything. Two, they show up to the interview and then my dad makes an offer and then they're like, no, my other company offered me more money, so I went back to them. Or three, they just kind of just, we don't hire them because they're not a good fit. Why they're not a good fit, that I don't know. I'm assuming it's probably work experience, or where we work, a lot of it is attitude related, where if you have a good attitude and want to work, then you have a good chance of being hired. We don't want someone that's going to slack off and not do anything, as most people do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in that regards, it's kind of where I work. I'm the youngest person in the building at 25 years old. The next person up is, I think, 30. And then it jumps up to like upper 40s, 50s, even 60s. And so I think depending on who my dad is looking to hire, I think it's what people are looking for is definitely generational based, where people like us are looking for a good work culture, maybe just looking for to make more money somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
People maybe a little bit older than us, thinking more about the future, retirement, they might be looking for different things. And I think finding a balance in that when looking for a job is, at least for employers, is probably rather difficult. Where, okay, based on who we're looking for, what do we need to adjust about how we hire people, or how we change the environment to better suit new hires? Or yeah, because like you said, people are always going back to their previous, like you said, the one person was working for 6 months or whatever, the new hire, and then went back to their old job prior to that. Why did they go back? Was it just a better culture? Did their old job contact them and be like, hey, we'd like to give you more money if you came back?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's obviously more money is definitely a big draw, I think, especially in today's economy, where that's all people want is more money because they can afford anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with our generation, definitely culture is up there as a top priority.
Mm-hmm. I would probably go further to say that the whole work-life balance is what's important. It's like, culture, the environment. Am I getting paid what's deserving of this position? And then it's like, am I willing to take on more responsibility for getting more money, right?
Yeah.
But it's just,
and a lot of times people do take on responsibility and then they don't get paid more.
well, there's that too.
And then there's that silent quitting going on that people have been talking about.
But the thing is, and like, because I'm seeing it firsthand, it's I've gone to the side where I can't blame them, because
Blame who?
like the people that like are just getting dumped on and they're not getting like raises and they're not,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Blame the silent quitters?
Yeah. And it might be controversial to say, but like I don't blame them, especially from like
Yeah.
my point of view, because it's like I can't affect an actual change for them. It's you know, like we've already made their petition known, basically, that like, and I've made it known. It's like, look, this is an important person. I can't lose them. We can't lose them. Like the
Yeah.
facility is going to suffer if we lose them.
Mhm.
But if management doesn't want to do anything about that, I can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
And
That's philosophy I've definitely seen. It's like it's
that's where I'm
not
at now.
our job, or it's not like the worker's job to make it work at that place, and not to feel guilty by leaving that team behind, short staffed.
Mhm.
It's the company's job to make their employees want to stay there.
Agreed. So then,
Yeah.
like these. So for instance, one example I can give is we went through an acquisition. It's the second transition I've had in my career so far. And in the transition, or before the transition occurred and the sale occurred, there were some kind of like open house meetings with the new management. And one department in particular was asking them, hey, we know in your other buildings or your other facilities, you outsource this specific department. Are you going to do that here? Like, what are your intentions with
Mhm.
our department? Because we have our own department that's in-house. It's not outsourced. There's no third party. There's no agency. It's just us.
Yeah.
They told them to their face. Management told them to their face, we're not doing anything with you. We're not changing anything. We want to keep you guys in-house. We want this, blah, 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 blah. Come to sale date, and probably not even 2 weeks into the sale, I start hearing whispers, and then all of a sudden we get smacked in the face on our side of, because we found at the same time the staff did, which is also a problem. But we find out they're outsourcing the department. It's either you stay and you sign with the new department or the new AM third party, or you leave. And it's a big one, because it's like the department is a very integral part of the of like the patient experience, right? Basically, it was the rehab department. And like, they're giving them
Okay.
therapy. They're giving them physical therapy, occupational therapy,
Right.
speech therapy, all this fun stuff. That's what half of their stay in our facility is for. And they let them go. And just today, I was talking to another therapist who handed in a resignation because it's just gotten from bad to worse to worst. And I told him, I was like, look, I am sorry. I really am. Number one, I can't do anything about it. I really can't, because I don't oversee you anymore. I can't advocate for you anymore. I can make the things known that's happening to you to like management in our own structure, but will they do anything about it? Can they do anything about it? I don't know. And it's not like we're not telling them what's happening. We're telling them everything that's happening, and it's just kind of like a blind eye is being set to it. So then that's why that context is, I give that context, because I don't blame people who are just getting dumped on with their plate. No compensation. It doesn't get better. When petitions are made known to people who can actually affect change, nothing actually happens. So this is why people silently quit or they leave.
Right.
And it's like, and I don't know how to make that clear enough to people or to management or to whatever, because it's just, well, now we're stuck. And now we're hobbling on one leg.
Changing the culture that's been present for like decades is so difficult.
Yeah. Because right
You're
now,
constantly telling them this is not the way it should be done. These are the changes you need to make. Like, this is not the way the world works anymore. And they're like, but we've just been doing this for so long.
yeah. And
Can I interject really quick?
Yeah.
Let's get some final points here and get back on college stuff.
Oh yeah. Good point.
We're going into just jobs now and
The post-college
But go ahead.
experience.
Yeah. Go ahead. What you're going to say?
But all that to say, I don't blame people for looking for an accurate work-life balance, because it's like, at this point, for post-college especially, it's a transaction now. It's like, how much are you willing to give me for my time to give you at work?
Yeah.
And I'm sure both, like all three of us, can probably echo in that sentiment almost, because it's like, well, once I'm out the door at this point, goodbye. Like, in some cases it's impossible, but
Yeah.
which kind of sucks. All right. Back to college. Final question. Back to in college. rather.
The final question.
All right. So I know this is the one that Slim has been waiting for. So, do you think it is worth it to pay or go to school with so many things nowadays that you can learn online for just a fraction of the price? I'm going to let Slim take this one.
You want me to go first?
Do I want? I mean, I feel like I want to because I feel like you've been holding it for this entire like hour.
I really don't. Okay.
All right, then. All right, fine. Then
I
you
will.
don't have to go first.
No, I can go. I will. I will preface this with. In my college career, I do think I made a mistake in how I finished it, how I went about it, how I decided to go about it. I do think I made a mistake. But do I think it is worth it to pay or go to school with so many things nowadays you can learn online for a fraction? In my personal experience, no, I do not think it is worth it. I do not. I say that. Well, I'll tell you the mistake I made first of all. Halfway through my college career of computer engineering and taking a bunch of programming classes and software stuff, I realized that those electrical engineering classes that I was also taking with hardware stuff, I realized I liked a whole lot more than the computer classes. So I went to the director of engineering and we kind of talked about it, and I was like, what do I need to do, or what's the outcome if I switch majors to electrical engineering? And he was like, you can either A, continue computer engineering, get your degree, and then maybe go back to school afterwards and then get a dual degree, have 2 degrees. Or B, you switch right now, essentially lose all of the computer engineering credits that you just have earned over the last 2 years, and then essentially go back to school for another 2.5, 3, maybe 4 years to get your electrical engineering degree. I opted to continue the computer degree and push through it and get it in hopes that I would land somewhere after school and then go back to school while I'm working and maybe get some tuition reimbursement from that company or whatever, and also get my electrical degree. I have yet to do that. But I say I don't think it's worth it because, probably more so because, going back to the job market nowadays, I'm thousands upon thousands upon thousands, not in the hundreds, I don't think anyway, but thousands of dollars in debt because I went to this school to pay for 5 years for a 4-year degree that I'm not using because I couldn't find a place to use it. When I could have, maybe all of college, maybe all of college is not worth it. But maybe I should have gone to a community college or prior or something rather than go straight to a 4-year school so I could better learn about what I actually wanted to do. But as far as it being worth it, not only educationally, but also physically, mentally, emotionally, just as would say something crazy. Those 5 years of my life, I think I would call maybe the worst 5 years of my life. That amount of time was like so mentally, physically, emotionally taxing on me as a person that the people change over time, yes, but the person before college and the person after college are definitely like complete opposites, two completely different people. Right. So like my parents have been pushing me to go back to school recently, which yeah, I would love to. I'd love to get my electrical engineering degree, leave where I'm at now, go maybe be an electrical engineer somewhere, make a lot of money, go do what I actually want to do. I don't think I can go back to school again because of that 5-year span of time, those experiences that I had in that 5-year span. I don't think I would be able to go back to school. I really don't. I don't think I would be able to succeed in going back to school. So do I think it's worth it? In my personal experience, no, I do not. I think there's much better ways to go about learning your profession, especially because, well, yeah, especially since yeah, you have your piece of paper. Jobs don't look at your piece of paper; look at your work experience.
Right.
They don't. Well, sometimes, yeah, there's requirements. You need an associate's or bachelor's or master's degree, whatever you're looking for. But not all the time. They're going to be, oh, you got a piece of paper, you're hired. That's not how it works.
Mhm.
They look at, oh, you got a piece of paper, that's good to have. What else do you have? What other experience do you have? What other qualities do you have that you can bring to the table? So I think there's just much better ways to go about it than going to a very expensive and astronomical 4-year college or greater. Maybe, like I said, maybe community college is the way I should have gone. Probably a better route overall, especially money wise. But I don't think it's worth it. Monetarily, educationally, lifestyle, I don't think it's worth it.
I just generally feel like there's a lot to unpack with this question. I will semi-agree with you, but I will be the guy that says yes and no. I feel like college is and isn't worth it. I say no because I understand where you're coming from, where it's like there are things that you can truly learn online or learn in like a community college or work in like a technical school and get the basis of understanding for what you're trying to go or pursue. And especially being asked at like 17, 18 to just make a decision and commit to a 4-year school and finish in 4 and all that fun stuff is setting people up for failure, I think. Yeah. But I do think it could be worth it in some places because there are some things that you really can't learn just by watching on YouTube. Yeah. You can understand conceptually what nurses or engineers or lawyers do or whatever, or doctors or whatever. You can understand on a conceptual level, but concepts don't carry you when you're actually on the floor in the field. Yeah. Because it's very different from a laboratory or very different from a clinical like classroom or whatever. It's not as sterile. But at the same time, I feel as if hearing your experience, and again, I still like I'll let Ginger go, but I feel as if, again, setting people up to just go, oh well, you're a junior year now in high school. You have to start reaching out to colleges. You need to take your SATs. You need to go to a finishing four. You need to commit to a school. That's not like you're asking like basically like a 5-year-old to decide what to do. Yeah, and
I want to be an astronaut.
Yeah, that's nearly impossible. And I feel like there has to be some kind of interim solution where, hey, for a year or 2 years, you go to some kind of like vocational technical school or community college, and then you figure out where you're going. Because I also feel like there's, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't really know what I was or what I was doing until like later in the college career rather than in the beginning.
Same.
You know what I mean? Because I went into nursing because my parents told me to go into nursing because it's a stable job. It's a stable place to be. You get job security. It's good money, this and that. But was it something I really wanted to do? I don't know at this point because of all the experience and everything like that. And that's a hard thing for a 17, 18, 19-year-old person to kind of navigate through when they don't even know themselves.
Yeah, but then, and then everyone's like, oh, what are you going to school for? What are you doing? What are you going to do with your life? And you're like, I guess I'm going to be a nurse. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sure.
And Jay said, there's so many variables that go into making it worth it. If you're extroverted and love the college experience that much, being able to meet new people, then it's worth it. So the value of the college experience or the price of college really changes depending on the person and what they want going out to college, which I agree with too. It's like, what are your intentions? And like some people are there, like I know there are people that came from my high school to go there and like they went to party for a year and a half, and like now I don't even know what they're doing in their real life. And we're like, I'm 26, or like, you know, the people in that class are 26, and it's like I don't know what they're doing. I think some of them are in the army now because they don't know what, like,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying that you don't.
That's what a lot of people do.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that doing that is bad, but I'm saying it's just like, again, to ask people at such a young age to make adult decisions like that is impossible. But Ginger, the floor is yours.
Ginger, what you got?
I'm ready.
I feel like I would land, in terms of like yes or no, I think I would land somewhere in the middle. I think very similar to what Jay said. I think it takes a very special person, a very like well tuned to yourself person, to know if going away to a 4-year school is going to be worth it to you. Looking back retrospectively, I can say that it would have been, kind of going back to Slim saying, I am, you know, multiple hundreds of $1,000s in debt where I am now with loans, student loans. Looking backwards, I could have cut some of that down by doing my gen eds at a community college and then transferring to the school that I needed to go to keep going with my degree. Those more like core, like major classes at my undergrad were, I'd say that they were critical in me succeeding my first year of vet school. I was very well prepared my first year of veterinary school because of those courses I had at that school. And one of the reasons I picked that school is because when I toured there, they said, we are the #1 pre-veterinary school in the country. Like, we have all these options, we have all these, you know, resources here to make you guys the most prepared for veterinary school. And I was like, how can I not want to go there? If I want this best place, the best path for me to succeed, this has got to be where it is. And it came at a high cost of a private liberal arts college. But do I think that that was worth it to me? Yes. I still think that I had that critical knowledge that allowed me to succeed in veterinary school, where the stakes were even higher. The bills were higher. It was out of state school. The courses were tougher. And having that kind of upper edge on those initial years where I'm adjusting to not only the way the courses are, but the amount of rigor that coursework and curriculum had, you know, the intensity of how they teach it, how much information is included, the amount of tests that are provided to you in a week. And, you know, that's very different, that lifestyle, than even undergrad was. Mm-hmm. So I think it just takes a well-tuned person to know if something like that is going to be worth it to them. And I don't think it comes down to your major. I think it comes down to what you're looking out of or looking from that degree experience. If you have a very specialized interest and you think that, you know, it's going to be something you need that on-site or that very special touch that you can't do online, then maybe you need to go there. Or if maybe you just don't have a lot of funds and you're really concerned about your money, then doing maybe some of the early stuff online, then transferring to that school that can get you the better classes and courses. Mm-hmm. Again, piggybacking on kind of Slim's answer, I'm very opposite. I would say that those 4 years of my undergrad were the best 4 years of my life. That's where I had the most enjoyment out of my career. And it was just, I mean, I made the closest friends there. I had the best time. It kind of felt like smooth sailing. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't easy. So required work. In the moment, I would have said, God, this is awful. But looking back on where I've been, I could say that probably was, you know, the best 4 years of my life. So for me, I would say it's worth
it. I mean, and we can talk about it a lot further, but it's just
there's a whole can of worms.
I know it, and it's like I'm trying to like navigate my thoughts so that it's like coherent. But Again, this is said with the power of hindsight, which is like super clear, at least with hindsight now. But it's just what I'm coming at now is what Slim said, where all of that for a piece of paper and for what? Which I feel like this entire conversation has been about, right? Is those 4 years, or okay, let's start at the beginning, where it's like, junior year, senior year of high school, where you're being asked what to do and to make actual decisions about your life. Like, you don't know what you're doing, but that is important. Like, to actually know or to be confident in what you're doing, and what, like, and similar to what Ginger's saying, is so important, because those 4 years are so pivotal. They are so pivotal, because again, like, I have, like, okay, so long story short, I was a nursing major up until my senior year. Basically, there was like a ton of people that failed out. I was one of them. And there were a lot of factors going into it, which I could explain a different time. But basically, that was a very hard point in my life, because I really now didn't know what to do. I was in year 4. I was like, I loved clinical aspect of things. I loved being on the floor. I loved like that practical knowledge, like, serving patients and helping them came so clear to me. The conceptual stuff that they would try to push in class was very different to what it was on the floor. And I'm sure, Ginger, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a crossroads, because it's like, okay, now what do I do? Like, I've spent basically 4 years of my life. I'm about to enter senior year, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no option. There is no option. Like, I can't go back, right? So then I finished in like some public health like thing, and then that's when I went to my graduate degree. But again, it harkens back to just like, well, was that something I really wanted to do? Was that something I really wanted to pursue? I did it because my parents told me I had to do it, or that it was a smart decision to do. I was conforming to what was the picture for me, as opposed to now, where it's like, okay, I am happy with what I do. Like, I if I had known about this prior, if I had been educated, or at least made some research to make some decision back in when I was 17, 18 years old, again, maybe with the power of hindsight, or the hypothetical is, I wouldn't have ended up here if I didn't actually fail and go through what I went through, which is a whole other topic in and of itself. But to make educated decisions like that is almost impossible at that age. And I just feel like I hear more stories now of people regretting what they did, or what they did in those 4 years, or what they studied, because it's not what they want. And you can't take that back.
And that's something I did want to touch on, that I think Slim initially had brought up, is what that I had decided. I didn't make the decision to like go on this path. I made it when I was a junior in high school. We had, and all the thought that I put into it is, I had this career planning course, very vague, and we had done a budget exercise where you had to pick 3 professions, look up their average yearly salary, and then kind of like pay, kind of simulate, paying bills and
Mhm.
and budgeting, and how much that would work out for you. And I picked, at the time, prior to that, I wanted to be just a science teacher. So I picked a science teacher. I had picked an actor because I did have some interest in acting, and I had taken some acting courses. And then I picked a veterinarian because, in terms of like this kind of still in the sciencey field, but like more medical, I didn't really, and had never had interest in being like a human medical. So I was like, let's just throw that one on there,
I
veterinarian.
like dogs.
And so through that exercise, I was like, you know what? This veterinarian thing doesn't seem too bad. They pay better than a teacher. Let's just keep going down this road. And if I fail, then I'll back up to the science teacher. And here I am, 9 years later, still on this path. And it is something that, I think about looking back, because I see the people around me, and I'm like, I see how passionate they are. And I realize that I am not that passionate. And then it causes like a little reaction in me. I was like, am I in the right field? or am I just a different person? Do I just have a different personality than these people who have more passion? Because half these people, you ask them, like, I want to be a veterinarian since I was 5 years old. And, they're walking around with their little stuffed horses and their stethoscopes. And like, I wasn't like that. It sounds terrible, but if like the short answer is it came down to the money for me. I was like, oh, they make more than
Fair.
a teacher. Guess
That's
I'll
fair.
go here. And here I am. So I think, and then going back to Mango's point, is it really is just like it takes that person, that knowledge to know, if this is really what you want to do at that age, then maybe you can make it through. But sometimes you don't know, and that can be a big risk, because if you get kind of like Slim, if you get 2-3 years into it and you start to question and say, maybe I need to change, then that can be more and more costly to make that change. And was it worth to use those first 3 years? Is that something that you're going to regret? Does it cause you some financial constraints? That can all be part of it that may not be worth it.
And sorry, I wasn't sure if you were finished, but I just wanted to say,
oh yeah, I'm done.
And all of this, right? All of our experiences all huddle into one for the possibility or slight chance of getting a job in the field that you actually studied for on that piece of paper. Slight chance. Slim.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's why
I feel like I got the job that I studied for.
Fair. That's fair. But well, you had circumstances that teetered you across that line.
You were handpicked to be there.
but it's like more often than not, like the people that I saw that was outside of nursing, outside of like engineering or business, those guys are working at like entry level jobs in some like other company or some other thing like that to even have an opportunity to go work in whatever they actually wanted to do. Some of them aren't even actually working in the field that's on their paper. And that's a lot of time and a lot of money to like throw out the window for the off chance that you might be able to actually work in the field that you wanted to before you're 30. And that's crazy to me. Like that's I don't know. But Jay says, also one thing I feel like is pretty overlooked when it comes to college is the fact that it makes your future more predictable because you have this rough outline of what it looks like, i.e. 4 years of school and then finding a decent job. But if you decide not to go to college, you usually start a minimum wage job and work your way up. I feel like your futures have so much more, are so much more unpredictable this way and requires more self-discipline in terms of having to hustle more to gain more experience and blank. I think he ran out of characters. But I think
it definitely builds different individuals.
I feel like
you go through college and sometimes you know people who are like, well, now I'm entitled to this high paying job. And then you have like the people who have like worked away from the ground up, and you're like, well, what about this guy?
Who's got more experience?
Put in 10 years of the effort.
Yeah. And at least from the hiring side, it's difficult to make a decision on that because it's like there are people that I know that sit there and go, well, they don't have a degree, so I can't give them this. But I sit there and I'm like, well, they got like 15 years of experience, man. What else do you want? Like they know what to do in that position inside and out. But just because there's no degree, and again, it's like I feel like degrees are just barriers to entry. It's not so much that it sets you up. It's just, oh, now we can take you a little bit more legitimately, which equally is not fair, or fair depending on what you think.
Yeah, like I said, my parents have been pushing me to go back to school, and my dad's my boss, so he's been like, if you go back to school and get your degree, I can get you more money. I'm like, that shouldn't be a factor. I'm out here having 6 different jobs, doing 12 different things, getting the wage that I make because we're already short staffed. Everyone's got to know how to do basically like everything. Everyone is special. I know how to do things that my dad does not know how to do because I've taken on responsibilities. Conveniently, I've kind of been thrown into the actual electrical engineer's assistant, more or less. And so I've worked with him to test a bunch of the machines and everything and troubleshoot and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of I wear 6 to 10 different hats in the place, but then it's like, well, if you get this piece of paper after for $80,000 more dollars in debt, I can pay you more money. Like that's, I'm already doing the jobs of 12 people. That shouldn't be preventing me from getting granted, yeah, I still get raises every year or whatever, but that shouldn't be preventing me from getting a significant raise for 10,000 more a year or whatever.
If you had that electrical engineering degree, and would you stay where you are to get that higher raise, and or do they have the options to do what you want to do, or would you start looking for somewhere else that has more of what you want to do?
I would look for somewhere else. The place that I'm at is we actually recently, Ginger, I haven't even told you this. We recently got bought out as of like yesterday. But we're essentially a slightly bigger than like mom and pop shop. We're a very small knit group. I know everyone in the building. There's maybe a total of like 30 people in there. On like, if everyone's actually there working that day, there's maybe 30, maybe pushing 40. So it's very small, and we have 2 mechanical engineers that both specialize in. This guy has all these machines. This guy has all these machines, and then there's 1 electrical engineer. And so, for me to get an electrical engineer degree, and then try to get entry-level electrical engineer position where I'm at, I don't think that's going to be possible as long as that other engineer is there. I would get more. I would probably get a significant raise, knowing that I went through the school, have the degree, have a better knowledge of electrical components than I did previously. But I wouldn't have. I don't think I would be a second electrical engineer. I don't think they have the capacity for that.
Yeah, I think that was just my point. Is like, what good does it do to send you to go get that degree if there's not an apt position for you?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that like, and I've seen it firsthand where people who have the experience but don't have the piece of paper get like the job title that's assistant, because you're doing the same work just without the degree and they don't pay you.
Yeah.
Which is pretty whack. Jay said the job that he just got hired at told me at the interview that the reason they only hire people with degrees isn't the fact that they're smarter or knowledgeable, but it's the fact that they can see that they had the dedication to stick to something for 4 straight years.
Yeah, that is valid in some cases, not always.
Yeah, I see.
It's back under. Well, you got the paper, but what else do you got?
Yep. And
what else can you give me?
Yeah, like in Slim's case, I mean, you had the dedication to stick to it and get that computer engineering degree, but that's not what you want to do.
Right. I don't know. Like
go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. You go.
I was going to change points.
Sure, go ahead.
Going back to what Jay said previously about going to college can kind of give you an outline of your career and the rest of your life. What if you go to college and don't have an outline? What if you go to college and don't wind up creating that outline, and you're still kind of just like
meandering around,
going with the flow, and you're like, I still have no idea what's going on. I don't know what I'm going to be doing when I'm 60 years old. I have no idea.
And the thing is,
I think that's kind of where
we're all coming to from.
When I first even thought about college, I was like, as probably related to Ginger wanting to be a vet. I was like, yeah, I'll be a vet. I like animals. I want to take care of animals. That's cool. And then I found out I can't see in the side of blood. I'll pass out. I was like, well, that's scratch. I can't do that. Oh, this was probably maybe middle school, maybe even earlier. I was like, it was probably middle school, because that's when I cut my hand and passed out. I was like, I can't be a vet. That's going to be impossible. And then, my dad was a field engineer for the same printing presses that I'm working on now, and was very. I want to say he has an associate's electrical technician degree or something to that effect. I don't know exactly what it is. It's not a 4-year degree, but I think it's an associate's electrical something or other. And so I think that's kind of where I stemmed my focus on computer engineering was, and he's always been fixing the family's computers and everything. Like
Mm-hmm.
at his house in the basement, he has like an office with a bunch of old computer. It's all junk at this point, but he had his own office with a bunch of computer components and keyboards and mice and monitors everywhere and a bunch of cables, and it was more or less his workshop, I guess, for computer stuff. And I think that's kind of where I stemmed my focus on computer engineering was probably from him. Now, I tell people I'm going to school for computer engineering, and they're like, well, what do you want to do? I have no idea. Again, there's only a million different things I can do with a computer engineering degree. I have not researched any of them, which is my own fault, yes, but I've not researched any of them. I don't know what the capabilities are. I don't know exactly what computer engineering even entails. Is it software? Is it hardware? Is it both? Is it IT? I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of going into college. Yeah, I had no outline. Halfway through college, I had no outline. Graduating, I had no outline. So it's kind of again, I made mistakes, had my own faults. Yeah, but kind of going through it, I had no idea where I was going to get dropped into coming out of school.
And I feel like at least that's like the side that I'm kind of coming from, at least throughout this this episode. It's just I don't think you're ever truly prepared.
Yeah.
Because
Never.
Again, like I remember junior, senior year, it was like, oh, you got to make sure you do well on your SAT so that you get into your first, third, second choice, whatever colleges that you want to get into. You got to start thinking about all the degrees that you want or the majors that you want to pursue, because you got to get a good paying one. You got to get a good job security one. But like, even then, at that age, it was like nursing. I guess I know what nursing is from my mom's experience, but that's a certain experience that it's not exhaustive. I know like an engineering background from my dad, but it's like I don't know much about it. I just know that it pays well. And then there's like, whatever other careers that I probably wrote down in some odd class that was just like, well, this one sounds nice.
Yeah.
Like
sure, firefighter.
Yeah, like
I'll fill a blank.
There's no way to it's difficult because there's no way to know unless you're there. But then there's also that just makes it difficult because you can't like the preparation or like if you make a mistake, you're wasting more time and money, and it's a risk that you're taking. Yeah, it's a big risk to be able to figure it out later in the career rather than before. But there's no way to accurately prepare somebody unless they go to some kind of like technical or vocational or some community college type situation where they see part of it and they become enthralled to pursue it.
Yeah.
It's not like you went to the sushi bar and you're like, let's try this, and you're like, didn't like it, guess I just won't go.
Yeah.
It's not $50 down the drain.
It's like thousands of dollars down the drain, especially if you go out of state or whatever, or you do whatever.
And usually it's time. It's not half an hour either.
No, yeah, it's 4 years, and like
it's 15,000-20,000 down the drain and years of your life gone.
Yeah,
wasted.
And the thing is, especially at that age, or like even now, right? Like I'm 26, you're 25, Ginger. I don't know how old you are. I'm not going to ask, but
29.
29. It's like I'm sure we could all collectively look back and find situations where it was like, man, I wish we could just cut that corner and like erase that, and I'd be 25 and I'd be at where I am now, right? But again, that's hypothetical and power hindsight for you. But Jay said, well, in that case, I think this was to your question, Slim and Ginger. Well, in that case, college wouldn't be worth it, but not going to college wouldn't make your future any more predictable. I feel like if you go to college, even without having a set plan or idea with what you want to do, it kind of forces you to be more proactive about making choices about your future. But then again, everyone is different. College for me was more of a plan B because I didn't know what to do. But worst case scenario, if I never figure it out, I would have a degree that I could use for leverage, and it would be in a field that I didn't hate, i.e. accounting and business. But to be frank, I wouldn't want to live my whole life working a 9 to 5, but it's more of a way to generate money and fuel my hobbies and passions outside of work, and hopefully turn that 9 to 5 into what I really want out of life.
Fair.
That's fair.
I feel like
I agree.
Can still go through college, and it's not going to force you to make hard decisions.
No.
It's about you as a person. If you were in that situation where you are lost and misguided and don't know where you're going, it's on you as that person. If you are driven enough to seek out those answers, go to advisors or counseling, take personality tests if you're out where kind of skill sets you have, what you like. So not everyone is like that. That's going to search it out. They may just work through their, MBAs and go about their life and, send emails for the rest of their life on the beach. It's not everyone's going to have that self-driven character to find that road going through those steps. I think that's kind of going back to what I said, like with the independence and the lifestyle that it takes to succeed out there, on your own. You have to be self-driven enough to take control of your own life and direction.
Yeah. And again, I think we're, I don't know whether you want to say it's fortunate or it's a blessing that we were able to actually find what we are actively trying to find what we're looking for. But I find you're not wrong that there's a lot of people that kind of just spiral and they're just like, well, I'm just going to stay in the situation because it kind of works. But then live.
They're like, at least I'll have the paper at the end.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I had a couple of people that are like that. Are like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but at least I'll be done.
Yeah. And for people to have that kind of experience tells me that the system failed them, or that they weren't like, and the system, by system I mean like, like high school counselors, high school advisors, like their support circles or whatever, or the people that they were in college. Because I also feel like there should be an active participation from outside of that person's individual life to make or help them guide along the path of decision making. And I'm sure that they do try, and advisors in university did try, but it's like, it's not really trying. It's, let's just put this out there and see if they bite back. And that's our version of trying,
Right. Because from their perspective, they're like, this should be on you.
Agreed.
You should come to me with your questions. You should be driven enough to seek me out.
Right.
That's how they see it on their end.
Yeah. But again, some people, number one, whether it's because of personality, or number two, because they're afraid or don't know what to do, or just lack of knowledge, don't do that. And I don't know what the number is, right? Like, I'm pretty sure we could look it up, like if we did some research on it, but like the amount of people that are working in the fields that they signed up for. I'm sure that's a metric out there on Google or something like that.
Gotta be.
Has to be one, but it can't be overwhelming amounts that people are actually working in their field. I'm sure I would venture it's under 50% more than anything.
I was going to guess like 50, 60.
Right? But that's still a low number. Like that. And I feel like that shouldn't be, right? I think Slim's looking it up, but Jay also agrees that that's a sad fact. A lot of people lack hustle nowadays, which is true. I would agree with that statement.
Okay, well, it's not.
There was times I lacked the hustle.
I don't want to say it's aimless, but I feel like more people in our age bracket are kind of just going with the flow, and they don't care, because what else is, what else is there to do? Or
I also feel like there's a bigger proportion that are fighting the system. And I think a big part of that has been the growing disparity from tuition costs and benefits once you're done. And I think that's causing a lot of people to step back and question it and kind of say, what's the point?
Right. I think an example to use, and it's not to like harp on streaming, but like I feel like people have made self-made careers out of things that you make yourself, i.e. YouTube careers, or like streaming careers, or like start like self-business, like social, outside of the prototypical, like, you need to go to 4-year college, you need to go to a marketing degree, you need to learn how to do this. Like, no, like people are just doing it on the spot, right?
Just make slime.
Yeah, and then make a fidget spinner, and
easy.
Shake your butt on TikTok.
Yeah, or do that too.
Send some feet pics. You don't need a degree.
Feet finder.
Did you actually get that metric?
Yeah, I got. This is as of February 8th, 2023, from resumebuilder.com. Roughly 1/5 of recent graduates, 21%, are working in jobs either full or part time that aren't related to their major.
That are not related to their major.
Yes, despite the current job market, 47% have been able to secure full-time employment in a job related to what they studied.
It's like 50%
Right. So we weren't actually off by that.
Ish
are doing what they
are
signed
doing
up
what
for.
they went to school
Right.
for.
Right. But then I'm sure there's also metrics on job satisfaction for new graduates coming out too. There has to be. Percent of new graduates.
Trying to see if it's in this. There's a bunch of stuff.
Okay.
34% of employed college grads could have gotten their current jobs without a college degree.
Say that again?
34% of employed college grads could have gotten their current jobs without a degree.
That's interesting.
So the 34% of people wasted their time in college is
Basically,
basically what they're saying.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So I looked up the Pew Research Center. When it comes to their current jobs, about half, 52% of all employed college graduates in their mid-20s and early 30s say they are, quote, very satisfied at work. In contrast, only 37% of comparably aged millennials with a high school diploma or less are satisfied with their job, according to their survey. Half. So we're not off by that, half actually. While most workers say their education has been at least somewhat helpful on the job, 47% of college graduates ages 25 to 32 report that their schooling has been, quote, very useful in getting them ready for a job or career. So our half estimate actually isn't that bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Final thoughts?
Yeah, it's been a long one.
Yeah.
I think my final thoughts would sum up that I think growing up in my time, it was a lot of people saying, you got to go to college and you got to get a degree.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to. You got to do it. And I think college is not for everybody. And I think it takes a special kind of person to succeed at college. Period.
Slim?
I would agree with that. I would say definitely college is not for everybody. Yes. Definitely use all of your possible resources you can to do your research and get the help that you need before you go to school. Take a year out of high school if you need to. I think before you start spending $80,000 to go to a 4-year school, you should go in with a at least solid idea and a backup plan of what you're going to do. And it's essentially, given all of our experience, it's essentially up to you to make college what you want it to be, whether it be a good experience or a bad one.
Agreed.
Or just, are you there for education or are you there to party? You know, it's what college is, what you make of it, and it's ultimately up to you to do all the research and use all your resources to make it so.
Mm-hmm. I would probably say, regardless of whether you do go to college or not, you have to make a plan and set yourself some hard deadlines. So that you don't walk around aimlessly. I would like basically take what you both said a step further, where it's like, if you do take a year off from in between high school and college, okay, you make a set date, you get all your research ready. Here's when you have to hand applications in by blah, 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 blah. Because if you don't give yourself that personal clock, you're not going to do it.
Yeah, you're not going to school.
Yep. And that'll just, again, whether that is your plan or not, that's you need the self-discipline to be able to actually get that done. Because, again, you'll need self-discipline when you do go to college, if you choose to go to college, regardless of what career you choose.
Well said, everyone.
Well said.
It was a long one.
This was
Someone
a long.
closes out.
Ginger, do you want to close us out or
Long and juicy.
you just clap?
Solid clap. Yeah. It was, that was a director's cut.
I guess, but basically, if you've made it this far, it's literally an hour and 40 minutes. Thank you for listening. I'll break it down in chapters for you guys to be able to break each bit down, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Ginger, thank you so much for taking the time to
Yes. Thank you.
You know,
Thank you.
break bread with us and talk about life a little bit. I enjoyed this a ton. I know Slim did. I hope you did too.
I learned some new things.
What about your own brother?
Yeah.
But yeah. So Ginger, is there anything that you want to plug? I don't know if you want people to follow you or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, don't follow me.
Okay. All right. All right. Never mind. But yeah. So
Stay where you are.
yeah. But yeah. So Slim, take a look at Slim's channel. Take a look at all our streamers' channels. I know
Yes, sir.
Ginger and Slim play a ton of Destiny, so if you're into that, go hang out with them. They're probably going to go play Destiny after this.
Yep.
Yep.
So, take a look at their stream. They're pretty funny to listen to. I listen to them myself.
The banter is good.
It's pretty
We're
good.
brothers, so it's pretty good.
It works out pretty well. But thank you guys for watching. Again, this will probably be out whenever it comes out, 2 weeks after whatever date the previous episode comes out. If you guys want to watch us live and see it in person, we record every Friday. But if not, see you on YouTube or whatever else other platform we have. Chat, thank you for contributing, and
Yes.
we'll see you
Thank
guys next time.
Thanks for letting us invade your ear space.
Bye.